Hi, the neighbourhood group, and anyone else who's watching as well. Welcome, welcome. It seems we're all going to have to wear masks, so we took a look at some different masks, and I went through quite a few different patterns, and it seems this one's the one that you don't get a gap here or under the chin. It seems quite comfortable to wear. They're all horrible to wear. I know we've got to get used to it, but they're all horrible to wear. This just seemed to me the most comfortable of all of them. So I've popped in a pattern on the email. If you're not in the group, don't panic at all. Putting this on YouTube, and in the information down there somewhere on YouTube, I'll put in an email address, and if you want the pattern, then just email me, or you can actually find them for free anywhere on the internet. Just totally up to you how you get your pattern, but it should basically be this kind of shape. And so, right, so if you've got your pattern, and it will come as an A4 printable sheet, just print out your sheet. Just check that you have got the right measurement. Where's my thing? So that should actually measure 3 inches. If it doesn't, just adjust it. I mean, none of these things are particularly attractive, but if you've basically got this shape, you'll be fine with it. So what we need to do first of all is just cut out the shape. I can use scissors, honest I can. A nice curvy bit there, and then down here. If you want to make this for a child, make it smaller. If you find it's too big, make it a little bit smaller. If it's not big enough, make it a little bit bigger. What I did for Ray, because you know he's got a beard, I made it longer, so that it kind of tucked his beard inside it. So yeah, now on to the cloth that you're going to need. You're going to need 2 pieces of coloured cloth, pattern cloth, coloured cloth. If you're using white for your liners and your backs, then it can be a colour, like these are Ray's for his beard. They're not finished yet, I've got to finish them off. But they've got a coloured outside and they're white on the inside. This one's going to be patterned on the outside and plain on the inside. The reason for this is really important. If you have a colour on the outside, you always know which is the outside. So as you're moving the mask on and off, you're only touching, if you need to pull it down, you're only touching the one colour. You take it off, you fold it very carefully so that the white is inside. You can come back to it on the same day because you've not contaminated the inside. It's very important. You put something, make the outside identifiable from your inside, so you only ever touch the outside. Okay, so this one has got an elephant pattern. I was going to try and keep it fairly even so it would look quite good on there. If you're not good at sewing and you don't know this, when you put a pattern on, you're going to have one left side, one right side. Left side is that side, right side is that side. You have got then to match your cloth into that. So this is the outside of the cloth here, the outside of the cloth there, what we call putting the insides together. So you've got the 2 inside layers together. The reason for that is when you cut it out, you will have 2 pieces that are opposite to each other, and if you don't have that, what happens is you've got you'll be sewing those 2 sides together and it won't look good. It just won't look good. I hope I've explained that. So the first thing you need to do is put your outside layer, the back of the outside layer together. I've also got there, this is an old pillowcase. It's still got the seams on it. This is an old pillowcase. It's cotton. For coolness, one of these layers is going to be the liner and the other is going to be the back, the bit that's closest to you. I didn't iron this. Most of it I've ironed. I haven't ironed this. Right, so we pop our pattern on. I'm actually going to pop my pattern on that way up. The reason being, I want my pattern to actually flow the little elephants around the bend of the pattern, but then that's just me being finicky. Right, pin it on all 4 layers. It's 6 layers, isn't it? It's 6 layers, not 4 layers. And cut round your pattern all 6 layers at one time. That way all of your layers will be the same size and shape. There go the seams to the old pillowcase. Now you get round to here, you will see I've made a slight error in putting that together. You won't do that, you will make certain yours are all perfect. Or I should come round and check. But there we have it. Now there's all 6 layers there. Take the paper pattern off. I'm fanatical about always putting my pins back in my pin tray. Always. What we will do is the liner and the back first. So taking your liner and your back, we are going to sew down this long curved seam here. That's the first seam we're going to do. Just going to move my sewing machine in. There we go. Hoping you'll be able to see that okay. Now, very dangerously, I've got the dog right down here by my pedal. I can just see me in a minute getting got by that. So just start sewing. You're going through all 4 layers, your liner and the back, the inside of your mask. Okay, take that out. What have I got that hitched up on? There we go. Now, because this is a curve, you are going to need to lessen the amount of cloth there is there. Now to do that, you put your fingernail right there. That's not a dirty fingernail, that's where I bruised my finger. So you put your fingernail over the stitching. That protects the stitching so you can't snip it by mistake. And you put in maybe... No, Ellie, leave my foot alone. There's a good girl. Sorry, I knew I was going to get got. Yes, it protects you from cutting through the stitching. Okay, there you go. You see, you have come close, but not cut through the stitching at all. Now this one gets turned inside out. Now, if you want to, you can iron this, or you can tack it. But in here, what you need to do is get all 4 layers to one side. Give me a second, Ellie. Ellie, you're far too close to that. Come out the way. Come on, that's a good girl. Can't have you down there playing with those. No. Sorry about that. It's the joy of having a puppy in the house. So you want all 4 of these layers laying to one side. Now normally, if you were doing a seam, you would do the seam like this. But can you see that there's little tiny gaps in between there? It's actually not as bad a cloth as the last one I was using. And those little tiny gaps, that would let the virus through. And let's face it, it's got a clear enough view through as it is without helping it anymore. So taking all of this to one side, like I say, if you want to iron it or you want to tack it first, that's totally up to you. I tend not to worry, but then that's because I'm not that careful. And then what I'm doing is I'm sewing. Here's our seam. It's a bit bright, isn't it? If I turn off, can I turn off the light on this one? New sewing machine, I don't know. No, I can't turn off the light. If I come down to here, I can show you. So I've tucked all of the waistcloth on one side, and then what I'm doing is, here is the original seam. I'm sewing just along here, so I'm catching this stuff to one side. I'm sorry it's so bright and it's not clear to see. Now have your wits about you when you're doing this, because you have to pull it open, otherwise you don't get the full curve. And you have to make certain you've always got the waistcloth on the right side. There we go. Straight fit in the end. That was easy, wasn't it? There we go. That becomes sweet. There we are. This is my new sewing machine and I love it dearly. Right, so what we have now is, this is the inside, and as you can see, nice seam, which won't be too horrible against your face. And on the other side you've got this one sewn down slightly. You can cut the excess off if you want to. As you said, you don't cut through any of the stitching, just to make it less bulky in front of your nose. You don't need to worry because it's actually sewn in twice. Okay, so that's your inside. Coming back to your outside, this is when, again, if you're not used to this, just go through this, you put the two good sides now together. We've had the two back sides, now we want the two good sides, the two front sides, and we make certain it all lines up on the outside again. And we're going to do the same thing, sew down this long curve, this curve, not the one with the little curve at the top, the long curve. I wasn't sure how this cloth would sew, but I've already tried. I'm going to say it sews well if you can get it in the sewing machine. Oh, I see. There we go. Not your fault, cloth, mine. I find if you talk to things, it'll always do so much more for you. And off we go. Make certain you give it a good wide seam. That way it's easier when you're going to cut the edges. And take a little bit of the excess out later. It's really weird, I can't see what I'm doing because it's behind the camera. So the same thing again, it's going to need a little bit of the cloth taken out, fold it over, put your finger on the stitching so that you can't cut it, take a little nip out. This cloth's a little bit finer, so I'm probably going to put in more but smaller ones. There we go. And again, when I say if you want to iron this, if you lay it on a flat surface, you've got ironing board, you're even better, but I don't own one. And then you take your iron and you push it all to one side. You see that? I'm ironing it all to one side, all of it. To get the nose right in there. There we are. Turn that off because I don't want that one going on much longer. It would make it slightly easier. I don't know why I've not done it before, but there we go. I wanted to show you. And again, here's our seam, and we're just going to sew with all of the waist on this side. We're going to sew just down here. Technical term, I believe, is a double seam. Sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. I concentrate so hard I forget. Again, keep your wits about you, keep it open. If you shorten it too much, you won't have enough of a nose in there. So keep it open. Whoop, I don't think I'm doing anything there. Down the long stroke. There we are. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. My nicely done. And in this case, look, I've also managed to get one elephant after the other, which is basically what I was trying to do earlier. Now comes the tricky bit, because no matter what we say about these things, nobody's nose or ears are the same distance away. You can be pretty much guided by roughly what they'd be, but they're not exact. So we're going to measure what you need. You might only need to measure once, because if you make a note of the distance and you're using the same pattern, then the same amount of elastic should be right for you each time. So we're going to move to the elastic. These are 2 pieces of knicker elastic, basically 7 inches long, but the length of it isn't too important, because we're going to measure it to fit you exactly. But it was pointed out to me earlier that not everybody can get hold of knicker elastic. This is an old t-shirt I've been utilising for other bits and pieces. As long as it's got fairly longish sleeves and the sleeves are springy, springy both ways, look, then, as every little girl already knows, if you take an inch and a half off the end of a sleeve, you have got a perfect, pull it just once, there you go, it will go into a perfect hairband for any kid to wear. But what you also notice is it's springy, and you can use that, cut off the ends, cut it in half, there we go, we've got 2 pieces of elastic. That's actually not going to suit the one I'm using at the moment. You can see on this one, it just fits perfectly. In fact, I found this more comfortable than elastic. So I haven't decided yet which I'm going to continue to do. But for this one, I'm going to keep it to the elastic. So put those bits out of the way. So putting our 2 pieces good side against the good side, so good to good, match up the seam exactly. You'll hate that later because it'll be so thick you'll be annoyed with me. I've made you match it up exactly. Match it up exactly, put a pin in it. If you want to tack this down or pin it all the way, it's totally up to you. I don't worry in the slightest what anybody wants to do. Probably actually nicer to tack it, because we're going to shove it on our noses in a minute. If you're doing it for somebody else, it would definitely be nice to tack it, because then you wouldn't be hurting anybody. There we go. Right. So now you've got the top all pinned in. You come to here, pull back your outside layer and put in your piece of elastic. Now it's going to go around, so I tend to only make one curve so that it goes down, round and comes back up again, and it would in fact be flat around here. You want to come in a good ½ inch from the side. I'm going to pin that there for there. ½ inch from the side, that side. And then do the same the other side. Pull it back ½ inch from the end. The other pin's right in the way, isn't it? Yep. Again, keeping it nice and flat as you put it round, ½ inch from the side. And another pin. Now personally, because I'm not too bothered, I would just flip that inside out and try it, see if it's big enough. But as I say, if you're doing it for somebody else and you don't want pins around, then the best thing to do will be just to tack, lie flat, oh yeah, you've got to be inside, just tack along Make certain this is held, tack, tack, right the way along. Do you know what I mean by a tacking stitch? I literally just mean a running stitch like this. So you're just going in, pulling the thread through. If I'd started this up the other end, I could have done the whole thing like this, couldn't I? Okay, so if I just do the whole thing through, make certain you've got that held. You've definitely got that piece of elastic held. Come on down. Grab the next one. There we go. Then you can take your pins out. Do it both sides. I've only done it the one. Turn it the right way out. Try it on, and those tacking stitches will hold it. Will give you a darn good idea as to if it's the right size. If it's the right size, whoopee, great. Oh, I haven't tried it yet. Hang on 2 seconds. Oh, my mask, and I've forgotten to try it. Oh yeah, it's quite comfy. Yep, that one's comfy for me. Okay. Now, excuse me while I cheat like blue blazes, because I want that back out again. That was set up for the tail end. Oh, it won't come out. It's not coming out. Oh, I know why. Has anybody ever tried to sew through rubber? It won't give in. It never gives in. Right. So, excuse me while I go back and pin it again. Ba 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 ba. So, but that's what you would do if you were going to tack it and try it for your face. I'm now going to get myself ready to sew it. Sorry to do that twice, but I think it's worth showing anybody who does want to tack it. Slightly shorter. When I tried it on, I thought it was just maybe a tiny bit too loose. So if you do want to shorten it, just pull through one end. I always pull through the bottom end. So far I've checked all of them as I've gone along. So, and then obviously at this end I'm going to need to shorten that one. And then for future reference, I know I need about 6.5 inches of elastic to get round. Okay, so we fiddled and faffed with that for long enough. Let's get on and sew it round. Only one trick here, and that is to leave enough at the bottom to be able to turn it inside out. So we're going to start your stitching there and end it about there. Pop him in and just start stitching. If you've left your pins in, take them out. Things are tough enough as it is without having to hunt for round shops for sewing needles. Down to a point. Does everybody know how to turn a corner on a sewing machine? You leave your needle in, you lift your foot. You turn, you drop your foot, you carry on sewing. Take the pin out long before you wreck your sewing machine. Stop there. One more. I'm good. Up foot, turn, down foot. And this is lovely because you are going to have to follow the curve. And if you have ever done any embroidery on the sewing machine, following curves is such a lovely thing to do. So up, round, keep it moving, both hands moving it all the time. Follow the curve around, pull it a little bit if you want to. Mind you're going through a lot of layers there, so mind your needle. Out come another couple of pins. I respect my sewing machine. And I know needles are going to be hard to find. So down here to this corner, stop, lift foot, turn corner, whip out the pin because I don't want that, down foot, Out with the needle. Stop. One more. Move it. Up foot, turn, down foot. And this is the return side where we're going to stop about here. Now on this one, what I've been doing is leaving a long thread, because then that can be used to sew it up. Wait a minute, my darling. Okay, so here now we have our inside out. I'm going to trim it up. You can take off that little bit and trim off the corner. Again, remember, put your thumbnail on your stitching so that you can't cut the stitching. Along here, we're going to need a couple of little tucks. Fingernail on the stitching, snip, fingernail on the stitching, snip, and down here. Oh, I think I'm going to put a fourth one in here. I'm going to take the corners off. Did I say corner off? Corner off. Trim that up, corner off. Take the corners off to make it neater when you've got it turned inside out. If you want to, you can cut a lot more off as well. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to worry too much. Oh, hello. It's just got caught up around the corner. The moment of truth, we turn it inside out. Now you can use a tool to get in the corner if you like. I've got long enough nails I can get in these corners. Tuck the nose up, makes it the nose is nice and high up, right in those corners. And inside out, there we go. Lovely. Now, at that point you can wear it. It is wearable. You just need to tuck in the bottom and sew it up. Whoop, hello, I've moved. My camera must have moved. There we go. But what we're going to do is to put in a piece here which will fold in and tuck in close to your nose. Keep any air from getting in there. I started out with paper clips, which are very, very good for this. You've got to reshape the nose bit a little bit, but otherwise they're really good. But I ran out. So this is a piece of garden wire. It needs to be good, strong stuff. No flimsy stuff will do. That is about 5 inches long. Yep, about 5 inches long. In the centre, fold it round your nose. That's what's going to fit on your nose. And then at the side, do another fold and bring back a bunny ear. On the other side, bring back another bunny ear. That was not quite so neat. But trust me, it will do. Actually, we'll give it just a bit more. There we go. A bit more oomph to it. To begin with, what I was doing was wrapping this, because you've got sharp edges, wrapping this in cloth and sewing the cloth on. But they're going to be washed and washed and washed. Each time you wear it, you have to bring it home and wash it. You're going to need 3 or 4 because they're going to be sat drying. So in the end, what I decided was some electrical tape, which is quite used to being bullied by the elements, and just wrapping around the electrical tape to make certain that the bridge of the nose doesn't get got by a nasty edge. So it doesn't show up too well on the dark cloth. So there you go, you've got a nice bunny lugged bridge for your nose. This, oh, you're going to love this bit, this is horrible. This bit then gets pushed into here. Oh, I've dropped it. As best you can, you want to try and get it as centrally as you can. Can you see it's pretty centralized in there? Yep. I found it easier at this point to put a pin to hold its little bunny lug still, because I found the little blighters escaped. Okay. So that's held nice and close up to the top here and held in place there. And what we're going to do is go back to my piece of thread already threaded. Nice big knot. The one thing you don't want is anything falling out. So what I did was a huge, great big bulbous knot. I want it all inside where it's not going to show. Again, it's not a fashion statement, but you might as well be tidy. You might as well be comfortable too. So finding the edge. So the edge of this one is there. Yep. Bringing my needle up to come out roughly at that point. Ooh, wrong place. Sorry, did you see any of that? Okay, so I took the needle up through here with the end, there it is, meeting the bunny ear. Now make certain the bunny ear is nice and tight to the top, and a couple of stitches through it to make certain the little blighter cannot move. It's just like watching your granny sew. Sorry. When it comes to hand sewing, I'm not very quick. I've taken that all inside so it doesn't, none of the stitching is on the outside. And then coming up to the top here, again, trying to keep the stitching out of sight. And making certain you've got that. There's a lot of cloth there. You're really going to hate me for this. There's a lot of cloth there to go through. But making certain you've got that bridge properly locked in there. It can't escape. If you're somebody who uses a thimble, I admire you. I'm absolutely crap with thimbles. Can also put in stitches this way, which will stop it from coming down. But whichever method you use, just make certain it stays up there. Okay, again, hide your stitches down as you come down for the other bunny lug. I'm coming, please save a place. Sorry, mustn't sing. There we go. Right, tip the note. And again, last bunny lug. Make certain you've got it. Don't let the little blighter escape. If you can possibly help it, don't get that caught up. Looks like I have this time. Oh well. Now, make certain this one gets finished off really tightly. Put a great big knot at one end so that it can't escape one end. Make certain this one can't escape either, because once you've sewn it up at the bottom, there will be no opening it back up again to put your bunny lugs back in place. So that just leaves us with one last little job, which is to come down to here, pick one of your two long threads. You don't need both of them. Oh, I'm going to have to get rid of that. It's going to really annoy me. What's the chances I can't thread a needle now because you're watching me? You're watching me. Stop watching me. I can't thread a needle when somebody's watching me. Right, cut the thread you don't want off. And then using a scarfer's stitch, just tuck the two layers in. Again, if you want to do this with a couple of tacking stitches, or you'd like to do it with go over it, make it stay still with an iron, that's fine by me. You know, you just do your own thing. Right, a scarfer stitch, you can't see the stitch, is pick up one here, so pick up a little bit of the green, and then back in the same place with the blue and run along. Pick up. If you're a good sewer, you'll already have finished yours before I've got to the end of this, because I'm explaining. Okay, you see it start to come a little loose, just tuck it back in and tighten it. It's the tightening that does the job. Right the way to the end of the gap you've left. Oh, I turned my iron off, didn't I? Shame, I could have ironed this one nice and flat. You know, where's this coming from? I don't actually need this. Just gonna go. I thought that was a little bit of thread, but it's the pattern. I'm very confused between the pattern and the thread that's left over. Is that the same? Yeah, it's the same. Okay, so you've filled in the whole of the hole. Done. Finish that one off. This one's not quite so important to finish off, but I am a bit of a finish off freak. Nothing ever gets less than 3 twists in the middle. There we go. And you have your lovely mask all ready to go. It's not going to keep COVID-19 out, but it's going to stop you from coughing on anybody in case you've got COVID-19. It's designed only really to stop the worst, not much else. But they fit nicely. They fit really nicely. Hang on, you can come up here. No, can't do it that way. I'm going to do it upside down. Sorry, my camera's on upside down. Okay, so as you can see, fits nicely up around the nose. You can pinch it in at the nose. There's no gaps here, there's no gaps here, and none under here. It's reasonably comfortable to wear. You can move your mouth a bit, you can breathe. I wasn't going to show me. Sorry this is upside down, but my camera's upside down to be able to see the sewing machine. So there you go. Let's put you back round this way, somewhere sensible. Any problems, give me a yell. If you really can't manage one, give me a yell. I'm only too happy to have a go at making one for somebody else. I've run out of cloth. I'm down to the last scraps of cloth in this house, but you know, if you've got some cloth, I'm quite willing to have a go. I've even actually cut up today a really good pillowcase, but you know, these things are sent to try us. So there's one each from my husband, no, 2 each for my husband and I, 1 for my son-in-law because he'll never wear it, and 2 for my daughter. So I'm quite happy with that. So always remember, only ever touch it from the outside layer, never touch the inside layer. Wash it when you get it home. If you've got to carry it around, don't ever touch the inside layer. Fold it over, pop it in a pocket, and don't ever touch that inside.